Welcome to the Art of Encouragement with Katie Baldwin. You know, when I was asked by the Lord to do this, I really started contemplating, why in the world would you want me to do this? Why would anybody even care what I have to say? And not that I'm downplaying myself, it's just that there's so many podcasts out there. There's so many blogs. There's so many YouTubes. What makes it to where you want me to say something? And then the next thought was, what would I even call it? Well, immediately he gave me the Art of Encouragement, which I was like, okay, I can see where you would say that. And then the next thing was, well, what would I call the actual segment that I'm doing, the first episode? And as soon as I said that, I heard him come back and say, I didn't think I could. I just did it. And I just laughed because it came back that quick. And I thought, you really want me to do this? I don't understand why, but apparently you really want me to do this. Now, the next thought that came is like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how to do it. I'm not sure if I can do it. But Lord, if you want me to do it, then nothing's impossible and you're going to be able to show me. So Lord, I guess I'm just going to have to dive into this and just do it. So here we go. I find it rather humorous, quite funny actually, that when I got the impression that this is what God wanted me to do, my first response was, you got to be kidding. Kind of like Sarah when she heard that she was going to have a baby. She laughed. I kind of did the same thing, thinking there is no way, there's absolutely no way. That is nowhere in my wheelhouse. That's not going to happen. Then I got the impression again. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Why in the world would you have me do that? There's so many others. Not that I'm devaluing myself or my words or anything that I have to say. I mean, I know we all have a story and we all have something that can be, put forth into the world and minister to someone. Absolutely. I don't doubt that for a second. But my thought was, there are so many hundreds of thousands of blogs and YouTube videos and podcasts and social media and TikTok and just, oh my gosh, everything else that's out there. Why in the world would you throw me in the middle of that when, number one, I have actually no idea what in the world to do to get this going? This is not something natural that I feel like I want to do. In fact, I feel like a fish out of the water even trying to do it. Hitting record is terrifying, actually, a little bit. And why in the world would you be asking me to do this when I don't even know what I would talk about over and over, week after week? So my very first question to him was, what in the world would I call it? Boom, it came right back. The Art of Encouragement. And I was not thinking. Now, granted, yes, that's the name of my coloring book. I know I've had that, but I had that was a million miles from my mind. I wasn't even thinking about it. And it was like, boom, the Art of Encouragement. I was like, okay, well, I can see where you would call it that. And I was like, well, what would I call the episode? And it was like, boom, right back. And he was like, I didn't think I could. I just did it. I'm like, wow, that's profound. Because that's exactly what's going to have to happen for me to be able to do this. Because I didn't think I could do this. I didn't think that it was something that would naturally come out of me. And I'm still wondering if it's naturally going to come out of me. Are people going to be interested? Are people going to be intrigued? Will there be anyone that ever listens to this? I don't know. But the fun part of this is that that's not my problem. What my problem, or maybe not a problem, but my commission, let's use that word, my commission is that I was to step out, figure out how to do podcast, hit the record button, record a podcast, and then hit publish. And then apparently turn around and keep doing that. That's all I have to do. The rest of it's up to him. And if no one ever listens to any one of these, then that's fine. I did my part So while I'm taking the time to do this, because I want to be obedient, I thought to myself, okay, Lord, the third thing was, what do you even want me to begin to talk about? And so he started flashing different things to me. And of course, the first thing for this conversation that I'm recording is what he showed me, because I'm sure that I have no clue what I'm going to do for the next one. But he was showing me how the different gifts that I have, the different attributes that I have, some of them, I don't see them maybe as strong attributes, or I may not see them as strong gifts. I just see them maybe part of my personality or just something that I do. And he wanted to really put a spotlight on that so that I would highlight that. Because I think a lot of times when people think of giftings, or, I'll use the word attribute again, attributes that the Lord would use, we think of like big things, shiny things, things that are very obvious. I mean, like playing an instrument, singing, being gifted, very gifted in something that most people don't know how to do or cannot do. We look at those things and we put those type of gifts on a tremendous pedestal. And God wants us to stop putting those things on a pedestal. Because, those things are much needed, for sure. But everything is needed. There's not one thing that we do down here that he has for us to do here on earth for his kingdom that isn't important. And he wants us to change our perspective so that we will see the importance of what it is that he has for us to do. And, he very clearly says not to despise small beginnings and not to look at small things and think they're nothing. I mean, the first verse that comes to my mind as I'm just sitting here, saying this is the woman that put the 2 pennies, or I'm just going to say pennies, but whatever it was, the very low amount, but it was all that she had. And then the other people that were put great things in, that they had many things. I mean, for many people, which I've learned this very much so by teaching art classes and teaching classes, making cookies and just different things where I teach people, the negativity and the self-deprivation that people say in the class that they paid money to come to is mind-blowing. That they're not creative. They can't do it like me. They can't this. They can't. And I'm like, well, first of all, I thought the whole reason that you came was to have fun. And that's what we're here doing. And that's why I started doing what I started doing it, was because I was having fun. When I first started drawing, the reason I started drawing is because I sat down with my children and I was using their crayons and their markers and I was just drawing with them. I mean, I had 5 children, and so it was just easy to sit there with them and color at times when they were really young, because nobody would eat the crayons and draw on themselves or the walls, or fight over which crayon or marker they got to have. And it started turning that when I was doing the artwork, that I would hear people, I became a Christian in 1990, and I would hear people constantly say their verses, and they would just like quote scripture left and right, and I would just be standing there in awe. I'm dyslexic, so to me that was just like, wow, that's like you had a special gift right there as far as I'm concerned, because you can just absolutely quote something and remember it. And I remember asking people, how in the world do you do that? And so everybody would say to me, and I would hear people saying it on the radio or on different messages and stuff, that if you want to learn scripture, just, get yourself a pen, get yourself a piece of paper, and, write down the verses you want to memorize. Put them on your refrigerator, put them on your mirror, put them in your car. And that way that you're constantly, seeing the verses. You can constantly be saying them. So I thought, well, I'm going to sit here with the kids and I'm going to write down the verses. But I got to the point where I was like, I'm not just going to write down the verses. I started doodling hearts and circles and swirls and, polka dots and whatever else at that time that I was doing. And I started placing them all over, in different places. And in 1993, my husband and I, we were put into a situation, had nothing to do with either one of us, but we lost our home. And when he lost his job also. And so there we were with, at that point, 5 children, all underneath the age of 10. And actually, it was 9, actually, all underneath the age of 9. And we had nowhere to go. And it just so happened that someone from our church stepped up and let us move in with them. And at that point, when I would be with the kids, drawing and coloring and, just, doing activities with them, and I started writing the words, it was no longer to just learn the verse. I mean, that would be nice if I did learn it, but it was there because I needed those up on my wall inside the bedroom that I was in as my lifeline. That was the rope that was holding on to me. So I didn't lose my mind. I didn't quit. It was desperate. It was a desperate time. We had nowhere to turn. There was no one to help us but Jesus. And he came and helped us every step of the way. But I was determined to constantly have that word in front of us. After we moved, we were there for 10 months. And after we moved from there, we moved to a home that we rented. And I just started doing even more artwork. And I started putting it everywhere. During the time that we were at that house with the member that we stayed at, the member from our church, there was a shower that I got invited to, baby shower. And at that moment, we had zero money to do anything for anybody. So there was no going out and buying a gift for the shower, but I just didn't want to not go to the shower because I didn't have a gift, but then I didn't want to not go to the shower without a gift. So I decided to take the markers with a piece of paper, and I did a place where they could put a picture on it and train up a child in the way they should go, and they will never depart. And took it to the shower, and everybody just made over it. And they just were going on and on saying, oh my gosh, you need to sell these. You need this. Of course, I look back on that artwork now and I think, oh my goodness. Because it looks very primitive, extremely primitive to me now. But at that moment, it was such a warm hug from Jesus that through that tremendously devastating time, that I took what resource I had from him, and people saw the Jesus in it and loved it. And it was such a huge validation for me, not because of validation, oh, I could do this, because that's not how I saw myself, believe me. But it was validation that God he didn't let me down. I trusted him, and I used that artwork and to try to make someone smile, and he let someone smile. And from there, that's where the artwork that I do had its birth, and it continued to grow. It continued to blossom. It developed and became more colorful and more detailed, and to the point sometimes I just don't know when to stop putting more and more stuff on it, and which is funny because I look at it compared to my Christian walk, that in the 30 years that I have done this artwork, that I can see the change throughout my artwork of the growing and the more color and the more detail, and just like my walk with Jesus continued to expand and to grow and to blossom. And through that, another gift came up that I didn't realize I had, and that was being prophetic and giving prophetic words. The way that started out was I was around this one group that prayed a lot, and I would constantly go with them and pray. And they kept saying to me, we would love to have you. So I just kept showing up because I was like, again, more validation. I really needed validation when I first became a Christian, tremendously. And so one day, this one this one prophet that I knew, strong man in the Lord, walked up. He says, "You're an intercessor." And I was like, just smiling at him and shaking my head and like, okay. Turned around to one of the ladies standing beside me and I was like, what is an intercessor? I was so unchurched prior to becoming a Christian. I had no idea what many things were in the Bible. I mean, I knew that there was a Bible. I knew there was, I knew Mark, the four Gospels. And, I knew some things. I mean, because obviously I went to a church. I was Episcopalian. I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. I was Episcopalian. So, I mean, I knew stuff. But there was no relationship whatsoever. There was no relationship. But I was so drawn to become a Christian that when I became a Christian, I dove head first in, and I had to learn a lot of things. In fact, I remember one time I was in the car with my husband listening to the radio, and they kept on talking about Golgotha. And my husband was raised Baptist, and I turned to him and I was like, what's Golgotha? I hadn't a clue. There was so much I needed to learn. And anyway, as an intercessor, I started praying more and more and started praying more and more for people. And next thing I know, I started coming out with prophetic words. And I would just hear things come up out of my spirit. And I would start telling people. And people would be like, wow, how did you know that? And I'd be like, well, I just heard it. So I said it. And lo and behold, it just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And, I didn't go looking for it. I didn't ask for it. Nothing. It just popped up. And before I knew it, I was full-fledged into doing, intercession and been the prophetic. And so that's a gift. Another gift that I took so for granted that didn't even realize that it was even considered a gift. And of course, after reading the Bible over and over and over, you start to see it over and over and over. But, the gift of encouragement. Now, everybody should encourage for sure. But there's just some people that it comes naturally. I mean, it's like my husband. I mean, he has the gift of service. He sees things at the church and does things and knows it's going to happen before it even happens, it seems. And I'm just standing there going, how did he know that? It's because it's his gift. We all have it. We all have it in different ways. And that's what this segment is about. It's even though you don't know how to do it, just do it. Do it. Step out in it. Even if you don't think that it's that important. And let me tell this story because this I think will reel it all in to what I mean by that. It was right before COVID happened. I was walking in to go to the dentist, and I go to the dentist over at the University of Kentucky. And so I was going to the dentist over there. And you have to kind of walk through many different buildings just to get into where you would go to the dentist. And as I was walking through this one corridor, very short corridor, I was passing this man. And I looked up and I smiled at him and I said, hi. And just kept walking. As I did to each person I saw. It just comes naturally to smile and say hi. Some people absolutely ignore me. Some people say hi back. Some people smile. I get many different reactions. This man just kind of looked at me and walked past me. And the next thing I hear, I was like, miss. And I'm thinking, okay, what is he wanting me for? And I turned around and I said, yeah. He says, I just want to let you know that you're the first person that has smiled and said hi to me today. He says, in fact, in a really long time. And I walk through these corridors all the time, and you're the first person that has ever smiled and said hi to me. I just want to thank you for doing that. That means so much to me. Thank you so much for doing that. And I said, well, you're so welcome. And I smiled back and just kind of didn't know what else to say. And obviously I need to go to my dentist. And so I turned around and he left and I left. And oh my gosh, the entire time I was laying there, as they were, working on my teeth, I was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, he thinks I blessed him by smiling and saying hi to him, but he has no idea what he has done for me. He has shown me in just a few seconds what could have taken years to finally have the revelation of that what I was looking at and thinking was so insignificant was truly a gift that I could continuously give to encourage and change someone's day. This is the point that he wants me to most make today in this podcast, is not to look at the small things, not to look at the insignificant things, not to look at the things that just come absolutely so natural to you that honestly, just like me smiling and saying hi to someone, I was taken for granted. Not to take anything for granted, not to look at it as something so simple that it just doesn't matter. It all matters to God. Every little detail matters to God. I love, like in my artwork, that I can just keep going on with dots and dots and swirls and just more and more and more. And sometimes the more I put, the more it just changes the whole composition of what I'm doing. And then other times I need to pull back on it. But the point of it is every detail of it counts. Sometimes I need more detail. I need more dots. I need more swirls. And sometimes I don't. And that's for us to be so in tune and obedient to God so that we know where that is. And if we're not listening, paying attention, and believe me, I am absolutely 100% sure that there's times that I was so, inwardly focused that I didn't maybe smile at someone that needed it or said hi, or maybe I didn't give a piece of artwork or go somewhere with a piece of artwork, or I didn't step out and give a prophetic word or even pray for someone when I should have, because I wasn't being keenly aware. I wasn't using every moment that I've been given on this earth to keep my radar up, to see how I can be used. Now, I know we all have moments that we're going to miss it, or there's times that, that it's okay for us to be inwardly focused. He wants us to be inwardly focused. But then there are times that he wants us to be absolutely aware. The point isn't about missing it or not missing it, because God is so gracious that he will help us circle about and keep doing what we need to do. The point is don't discount what it is that you have. Don't be in a situation like some of the students that I've had in different classes, that the whole reason you were doing it anyway was to be fun. But you come in there and you critique yourself and you compare yourself to me. And I've been doing it for 30 years. But wonder if we sat side by side with each other back in 1990. You wouldn't be saying that to me. In fact, your stuff probably looked better than mine. But we're so quick to judge. We're so quick to compare. We're so quick to, think that because mine looks smaller than yours or not as grand as yours, or maybe mine doesn't look as grand as someone else, that I can sit there and compare. And believe me, I have to battle with that myself. I can listen to different people give prophetic words or look at their art or, watch someone do something with such absolute ease. And it just blows my mind. It makes me feel like I'm, teeny tiny. But that's the enemy. Because we're never to look to the left and the right and compare ourselves to anybody, because we all are in this together. We all are working underneath the covering and the guidance and the love of Jesus Christ. And he loves it all. And he wants us to do it all. He wants us to participate within it all. And I just encourage you today, as I encourage myself, not to be so concerned about what other people think. Because, oh my goodness, one of the biggest things that hit me when I was doing this was that people are going to think this is dumb. They're going to think that I'm just babbling. Or they're going to be embarrassed of me. Like, I thought of my own children thinking like, oh my gosh, they're going to hear this and they're going to be like, oh my Lord, Mom, what are you doing? That's awkward. That's embarrassing. But you know what? If God asked me to do it, it doesn't matter. And if God's asked you to do it, it doesn't matter. And you go out and you do the best that you can. And that's all he asks. That's all he wants. Because he wants to make you a better version of you. And the more you pull upon him, the more you pull from him, it's infinite that he will give unto you. And again, it makes me think back to what I said earlier with my artwork. If you look at artwork through time of the 30 years, you can see where it just grows and changes and shifts. And that didn't happen in one day. That didn't happen in 1 month. Didn't even happen in 1 year. It happens over timely, consistent, never giving up of change. And the more that I pull on him for the prophetic, the more I pull on him for the encouragement, the more I pull on him for the artwork, the more I pull on him for my full walk in Christ, the more he's going to give me. And what he does for one, he does for all. So he will do it for you. On the top of my mantle, I have one piece of artwork that says, do not despise, the beginning. Of course, I'm not going to be able to quote it completely because here I am putting myself on the spot. But don't despise small beginnings. That Jesus rejoices in our new beginning. That's not exactly how it's said, but that's the way I'm going to be doing verses. Because I still can't quote them perfectly like everybody else unless it's the unction of the Holy Ghost. Anyway, it says that, and the whole point that I was saying that is everything starts somewhere small. Everywhere has a beginning. And every person that you see that's absolutely polished, if you go backwards to when they first did it, they weren't polished. They weren't good. They weren't perfect. What they were, though, is willing to push the play button like me. And if I can say anything else about this podcast, is I pushed the play button. I did the utmost that I possibly could do. And I'm trying to convey my deepest, deepest love for Jesus. Not only for my love for him, but my love for you to know that we all have insecurities. We all have areas that we don't think we're as good as the person beside us. We all get embattled by the enemy telling us that we are terrible or we're bad or that, God doesn't want this. I mean, the list can go on for days. But he's the father of lies, and all that can come out of his mouth is lies. And quite honestly, we ourselves can be our own worst and hardest critics. And we need to quit being so mean to ourselves. I tell myself that all the time. So I say it to you. Stay focused. Look to the small things. Look to all the tiny details to work and make them bigger. To let them grow. And to trust him that he's using you, even in the most simplest ways. Even a smile. I know that it seems impossible at times that he uses the simplest things. But again, I go back one more time. He uses the simple to confound the wise. He goes out and finds the people that are so imperfect, that so don't know what they're doing, because through those people, he can shine the most because we have no clue what we're doing. Absolutely no clue what we're doing. But we're obedient and we said yes. If you liked today's episode, The Art of Encouragement by Katie Baldwin, then please come back next Thursday to hear another episode. Have no idea what it's going to be about, so you'll have to come back to find out. If you believe you're part of my tribe, then like, share, and leave a comment if you would like to. If you'd like to find me on social media, check me out on Instagram at Art Inspirations, on Etsy, Art Inspirations by KB, and my website, artinspirations.com.